So welcome to the first ever PHP challenge that I'm doing here on my channel. In today's video, we're going to do the following. Imagine we are a business owner. So we are a web design agency and our client Susan came to us a couple of months ago and she's a hairdresser. She has a hair salon and we built her a website. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Susan the hairdresser, long blonde hair, in shop cutting hair, green dress. Close your eyes. Meet Susan.
Oh, she's in the mirror.
Yeah, what?
What?
And there's like 3 of her. What's going on? Now, today she's come back to us and she's asked us to be able to go and enter her opening and closing hours for her store in her WordPress dashboard. And based on the opening and closing times of her salon, she wants to show and hide different elements on her website. So that's what we're going to achieve by the end of today's video. So this is what we're actually going to set up and go through today. Inside Susan's dashboard, we're going to create this options page and we're going to build this using the Advanced Custom Fields plugin. And if you didn't already know this, because I actually didn't know this until last week, Advanced Custom Fields actually has a built-in way for you to go out and create options pages like this one here. So it's very straightforward. We're going to go ahead and create this. I'm going to show you how to set it up like this. So for example, Susan could come into here and she can enter the days of the week and her opening time. So for example, this could be Monday, and then this could be Tuesday, this could be Wednesday. To add a new day, she'll come down here, click that, and then go Thursday, and she'll set her times here like so. So let's just say 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. like that. Now, Susan also has the ability on this page to not only set the default days of the week that throughout this video we're going to refer to as the general business opening hours, but she can also come up to here and set the one-off days throughout the year that are the exceptions. So while we're going to call the hours down here the general business opening hours, these ones up here we're going to refer to as the exceptions throughout the year. So for exception days, she can add the title of the day. She can specify whether or not it's closed all day. If it's closed all date, obviously she just needs to select a date there. If it's only closed for part of the day, so maybe for her birthday, Susan only wants to take off the night because she has a hot date with her husband. So Susan's birthday, she'd enter that there, and then it would not be closed all day, and her birthday is tomorrow. And she's going to be open from, say, 8 a.m. and she's going to clock off at something like 2 p.m. so she can get ready for dinner. So we're going to give her the ability to go out and do what I've just shown you here on this options page. Once we go and create this options page in today's video, we're then going to jump over to here and we're going to write the PHP code that you see on my screen. Now, I actually wrote this code last week and I've been away for a week, so I've come back now. And so it's actually going to be interesting to see if I can solve this again. But we're basically going to go ahead and we're going to write this PHP code from scratch. So in today's video, we're going to delete all of this and we're going to write the code that is basically going to go through and check all the different data that we have in our options page here. So we're going to check all of this data against the time zone for Susan's business. And if her store is found to be open, we will come down here and in our function, we will return open. So open if the store is currently open. So during the hours that Susan's entered on the options page, open would return true, being that her store is currently open. If the current time is outside her hours, i.e. her store is closed, then our variable open will be returned as false. So again, the main aim of today's video is to be a PHP challenge. And I'm going to touch on exactly what that is in just a second in the next section of today's video. But just know that for the majority of today's video, we will be going through and writing this PHP code and getting it to work and testing it and going through the logic. Now, once we go ahead and we check the values in her options page and our function deems whether or not her store is open or closed, we are then going to jump into Bricks Builder and show and hide things on the page whether or not her store is open or closed. So for example, this section here under the conditions builder, so you can toggle that on and off up here. So if we click here, we have our function here that we just looked at in our PHP code. And if our function returns 1, i.e. returns that our store is currently open or Susan's store is currently open, then this green bar will show on the page. If our function returns that the store is not currently open, then we are not going to output this green bar at the top where we say we're open, please call us. And we're actually going to output this red bar if the store is closed. And that says we're closed, please email us. So that's what we're going to look at today. Now, with that last little bit, you might be wondering if today's video is going to be relevant to you if you're not using Bricks Builder, and it definitely is. So today you will still be able to go through and see how to create an options page in WordPress. So you'll definitely be able to do that. You will be able to do this PHP code here. You just won't be able to do this last little bit where we take our PHP code and with the result of that, we show and hide things here inside of Bricks Builder. That doesn't mean that you can't do that last little bit. It just means that if you're using another page builder, you need to go through the documentation and see how you can show and hide things within that builder based on your own custom PHP function. And I'm sure most of them do it. And if they don't, that's another reason that you need to swap over to Bricks Builder because it's extremely easy to do, as you'll see in today's video. I'm just joking with that last little bit. I'm just teasing. But yeah, Bricks Builder is definitely my favorite page builder, and it's very easy to do something like we're about to do in today's video. So with that said, what I want to do now is I want to cover the logic of this function here, because we have to understand what we need to give Susan to be able to enter her data, which is this options page here, and then how we're going to take this data and put it into a function. So this section here is going to be talking about the logic of it, and then we'll look at actually going and creating this options page. So firstly, having a look at this options page, the way that I came to put this together is as follows. What I thought I would do is I would give Susan the ability to enter the default opening hours for her salon. So this would be, Monday, we're open from these days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Another day, like I showed you before, she'd just come down here and say Friday. She'd put in her date and time here. So this might be like 9 a.m. until, let's just say 5 p.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, if the days aren't there, we're going to consider it closed. So I wanted her to just put default hours down here. But then we also want to allow her to add exceptions throughout the year. So I've called this Lazy Thursday, and then New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and Susan's birthday. But I've also given her the option, as you can see here, to specify 2 different time frames for the same day. My logic here is that maybe she just wants to take maybe she wants to start really early and work late, and she's a small store. So let's just say, for example, could be Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve, and we're going to do AM, and then down here, we'll do PM. So maybe Christmas Eve, she knows that she's going to get a rush of customers that want to shop late at night. So she might close on this day at, say, 11. We'll put this at 11:59. And she's going to open at 3 p.m. And she might actually open at 7 a.m. Maybe she's in a high traffic area for people going to work. Maybe she opens in the morning at 7 a.m. and she closes at 1 p.m. Let's just say she closes at 12 p.m. And maybe she actually opens here at 5 p.m. until 12. So we give her the option to specify those multiple time frames for one day. She can obviously then just go and set one day. And if she's not closed all day, she sets the date and then she sets that specific time frame. So say, for example, New Year's Eve fell on a Friday. Down here, she's normally open on Friday from 9 until 5. But actually up here, she's wanting to take it off from 8, and then 2 p.m. she's going to finish up for the day and go and party. So we want to go and just give her the option to specify the default for every Friday, but then for those one-off Fridays, she can specify here a time. Now, we also give her the option to just say she's closed all day. So maybe she takes New Year's Day off entirely. So she just says closed all day, yes, and then the date closed. And that's actually the default. So I thought from a usability perspective, she could go add date and maybe her kid, for example. So Brad's birthday, like that. Maybe she's closed all day. So she just selects, Brad's birthday is the 28th of February, closed all day, done. Maybe for Brad's birthday, she wants to pick him up early from school and take him out to somewhere in the afternoon. She could say no. And then over here, she could just specify that she's going to be open at normal time. So say 9 a.m. But she's going to finish early on that day to take him. So maybe she finishes at 2 to pick him up at 3. So that's the interface here, and what's really cool about this is just all advanced custom fields out of the box stuff. Very easy. I just typed in how to create options pages in WordPress. Luckily, I own advanced custom fields, and it just works really, really well. So there's nothing too complex here, but I will show you how to go and set this up. You're going to need to add a little bit of PHP, and we're going to use the repeater field and a couple of different things that we're going to look at in today's video. I'm also going to obviously go through how to access that data from the options page in our PHP function, which isn't like a regular custom field. Now, lastly, with that said, how would this translate to the logic of our function? So basically, I think the way that it should work and the way that we're going to code it is that, let's just say today was the 14th of February and it's Valentine's Day. So we come down here and we add a date, and for Valentine's Day, we are going to be closed all day. And we're going to be closed on the 14th of February. So our PHP function initially is going to get the current date for Susan's business, which we're going to get from settings and then general. So if we go down, we've set the time zone here to be Sydney. So Susan is actually a local hair salon here in Sydney. And so her local salon time actually matches my computer time. So that's what we're going to be using in today's video. So let's go back. And let's just say today is the 14th of February and she set it to be closed all day because it's Valentine's Day. So what our function is going to do, so it's going to get the current date from here under settings and general for that time zone. And it's going to say today's the 14th of February. Then our function is going to check to see if there's any dates listed here as exceptions. It's going to go, yes, this actually matches today's date. And then it's going to say closed all day. And then in our PHP function, we're going to return open equals false because the store is currently closed. Now let's just say it was actually Valentine's Day and we didn't have any dates in there. So we removed that. So the current time zone in settings and general would be Sydney, Australia, and the date would be the 14th of February for Valentine's Day. So our function would check for the 14th of February here, and it would check through all of these and go, no, that's actually not found. Okay, well, what day is it? What day of the week? Today is a Friday, so it would go down and go Friday. She's open from 9 till 5 p.m. The current time is 4:20 p.m., so then the store is open. So our function down here would return open equals true. Now, once we jump in and we start coding this, it's going to become a lot more clear. So if that was a little bit confusing, you can go back and rewatch that section. But it's going to make sense the more we go into this video and the more we start to code. Now, before we get into actually doing this solution today, I just want to quickly say that these PHP challenges are where I want to practice my PHP. I am not confident with my PHP skills to stare at a blank code editor and start writing PHP from scratch. I've never had the confidence to do that. And so I thought I would document my journey to learning PHP over this year and put them into these little videos here. And I thought the best way to learn PHP is to just come up with some real world examples that we might encounter. So for example, today, Susan is a client and she has a problem and we're trying to solve it. And to do that, we need to write some PHP. But this is really me starting from pretty much scratch, trying to learn PHP. So there is a lot of things that go wrong in today's video, but I think that is where the value is, the problem solving. So with what I've just said, let's jump into today's video and let's start to help Susan. So now we're ready to jump in and start building our options page. And to do that, we're going to head on over to the advanced custom fields documentation. So here I am, and I'm just going to go into here and search for options page. And we're going to use this first result here. And we're going to go down. Now you can read through this. There's not much on this page, but the main thing that we need to go through is the fact that these options that we create today inside of advanced custom fields are saved in the WP options table. So we're actually going to have our WP options table open. And as we start adding fields, we're going to look at our database and sort of see how that data is saved there, because you might be used to seeing, or you might know, or you might not know, that advanced custom fields usually saves its data in the post meta table. So we're actually saving it in a different place in our database. So we will go through how that works. And what we might do at this point in the tutorial is get our database open, ready for us to start looking at it. So here I am inside my GridPane account, and if you've never used GridPane before, it's a place that I come in to log into all of my different WordPress websites, set up all my staging, all my backups, pretty much anything to do with WordPress and me is done through GridPane. So I'll leave a link to it in the description below where you can go and check it out for yourself. But what we can do from here is we can click on the database icon here to open up our database. So I'll click on this. And then once we're in PHP My Admin, I'm going to click on our database name. And then I'm going to find the WP options database table. And again, as I mentioned before, custom fields are usually saved in this one here, but we're going to click on to the WP options. So with this open, we'll come back to it once we start adding our fields in the options page. But for now, let's jump back to the documentation here, and we're going to go down to this next section. So requirements, you are going to need a paid version of the Advanced Custom Fields plugin, and you're going to need version 5, or if you're on version 4, you need the add-on. So as long as you have the paid version, we can go down and look at this next bit here, which is the basic usage. So having a look at this function here, it says if function exists, add options page. So if that exists, then we can create our options page. So if the Advanced Custom Fields plugin is not installed in your WordPress website, or it's not currently active, then checking if the function exists, that would actually return false, and then it won't create the options page, because we don't want to try and create an options page if the plugin isn't actually installed and activated, because it'll throw an error. So let's go ahead and copy this, and it says you can add this to your functions.php file. So I'll show you where you'd go and do that. So here in WordPress, you'd go to Appearance and then Theme File Editor. And then you want to select your active theme, so usually a child theme. So you go and select it from over here, and then down here you'd click on Theme Functions, so functions.php, and then scroll right to the bottom of this file, and you want to paste that at the end there. Now, I actually don't add any of my custom code anymore inside my theme. I add all my custom PHP, my custom CSS, and my custom JavaScript using a code snippets plugin. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to actually add that code there, but I'm going to go down here to where it says WP code box. I'm going to click on that, and we'll just leave that page. And then inside here, I'm going to click add new snippet. I'm going to call this store hours ACF options page, and it's going to be a PHP snippet, and then I'm going to paste that in there. Now, if I go ahead and try and save this, it says, it seems you are saving Advanced Custom Fields code. Make sure you select plugins loaded as the hook for our PHP snippet. So to do that, we want to come down here under hook and priority, and we'll click on this, and then we'll click plugins loaded, and then we can go save, and then we can turn it on, and we'll activate it, so we'll save it again. The reason that we need to do plugins loaded is that we need WordPress to have loaded all the list of the plugins in our website, so that we can then check whether or not Advanced Custom Fields is in that list. So with that done, I'm just going to pull that across. So I'm going to collapse that, and now we have a larger code editor to work with. And now that that's done and activated, if I reload the page, we should see a new options page icon on the left-hand side. So I'll reload, we'll reload, and you can see there it is, options. So by default, if we click back into here and just collapse that again, by adding this code here, that registers the options page. But if we were to click on this, it's just an empty options page, and we could go and start adding custom fields and then assign them to this options page. But we're going to go one step further. And back here in the documentation, we're going to go down and we're going to look at this next bit. So the advanced usage. So you can see it has our check to see if the function exists, which we just did. And then this ACF add options page. If we go back here, that's just that code there. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add our own options in here as an array, so we can go and customize what you can see here, the page title, the menu title, the slug, the capability that the current user needs to have to be able to access our options page. And then we're going to go ahead and add some sub pages. So let's go ahead and do that. And for these challenges, I think we're going to try and not copy and paste as much as humanly possible. Obviously, in the real world, we would copy and paste that. It's a big time saver. But I think the more that we actually write this code out, or at least the way that I work, the more that I write this out, the more I'm going to memorize it. So let's go ahead and add an array here inside of there. And then let's push that down a little bit, and we can start writing our code in here. So the first thing that we want to add in here is going to be the page title. And let's give this the page title of website settings. And we'll do a comma, and we'll go down here. Now, the next setting we're going to do is going to be menu title. And let's call this website settings as well. And then we'll do a comma. And then here we can do menu underscore slug. And this is going to be the URL of our options page. Let's just do website settings like that. And then the next one is going to be capability. And we're going to say, we'll use what they did in their example, which was edit underscore posts. And coming back and looking here, the last one is redirect false. So let's go ahead and add that. And then we're going to go through exactly what each of these does. So here we'll say redirect, and that is going to be false. So with that done, let's save that. And I'm just going to go ahead and access our website in a different tab. And let's go down. So we can see website settings. So our options page is there. So that's going to be our menu title. And if we click into this, this is the page title up here. If we have a look at the URL, it has page equals website hyphen settings, which was our menu slug. And for the capability edit posts, we're admin inside of here. So we have this capability. If you want to learn more about user roles and capabilities, you can go to WordPress and it's here under documentation. And then if you go down a little bit, you can see where it says dashboard. If you click on that, and then you can search for user roles, capabilities, roles and capabilities. And if we click into that, you can go down and you can see the roles that WordPress has, so the user roles. So admin, which is what we currently are. Editor, which is the next down, then under that is an author, under that is a contributor, and then under that is a subscriber. And a super admin is for when you have a multi-site network, but the ones at the top have the most capabilities, and as you go down, it gets fewer and fewer capabilities for that user role. So it's worth getting an idea of what these are. So for example, if we look for edit underscore posts, which is here, and we go up, the administrator has that. So we could go down and just look at all of them. So editor, the editor has edit posts. And if we go down, author has edit posts. And if we go down, contributor has edit posts as well. So coming back to here, because Susan is our client, we probably could leave this as edit post because she's in there managing her own website and we're an admin. So we have this capability. So we want to access that as well. So this ticks the box, but let's just say we wanted to set up an options page here inside this website that only we can manage ourselves, but we don't want our client Susan to be able to access that options page. Then we would add a capability that only administrators have, which is manage options. So if we have a look at that and we go back here and we search for manage options here, let's go up to, so the administrator, if we go down, has manage options. And if we go down to the next one under that, editor, you can see that there's no manage options there. So going up by adding capability manage options, only us, the administrator, could access this options page. And you can also click into one of these, so manage options, and it shows you what giving a user that capability allows them to access, which is just everything under settings. So here, settings, all of this sort of stuff that you only want an administrator to be able to access, we're tying that into only being able to access our options page here. But I'm going to revert that back again because Susan is our client and we want to give her access to edit the options. Now this last setting, redirect false, I'll show you what that means once we go and add some sub pages. So coming back to the ACF docs, let's go down and we can see add options sub page. So where this is options page, this is options sub page. And it takes a page title, menu title, and parent slug. So it ties this sub page here back to the menu slug there. Because you can obviously have many parent pages created here for the options page. You could have many sub pages and you need to tie each of them together. So coming back into here, let's do that. So I will take a little bit of a shortcut and just copy that. And it's ACF add options, and that's sub underscore page. And then inside of here, and then we'll close that. And then inside of here, we'll do the array and we'll do here, so page underscore title. And we'll call this opening hours, comma. And then we have the menu title, menu underscore title. And we'll call this the same, so opening hours, like that. And coming down here, we'll do parent underscore slug. And that is going to be this up here. So we'll do that, and that should be good to go. So let's go ahead and save this. And then back here, let's reload the page. And you can see now we have our website settings, and it has website settings as its own page up here. And then we can click on opening hours, which takes us to the opening hours there. So now what if you didn't want to have this website settings page here, and you basically just want to have, when you click on website settings, it just redirects to the first child page there, which would be opening hours. This is what this is referring to. So currently it's set to redirect false. And what that means is this menu item here, the parent page, that means that don't redirect it to the first child page, keep it as its own separate page. But if you do want to redirect this parent page to the first sub page, you can come back here and just say true and then save this. And if we come back here and reload, you can now see that website settings, if we click on it, it goes straight to opening hours. Now, if we come back here and just create a second sub page, so we have opening hours, and let's just say we had another one where we gave Susan the ability to manage booking time, so booking calendar, and then we'll just copy this and put that down there. And then the parent slug is going to stay the same. So let's go ahead and save that. So if we go back here and reload the page now, you can see if we click on website settings, it redirects to the first child page, and that's because redirect is true for this parent. And then booking calendar is its own page. Now today we're not going to go ahead and obviously create that booking calendar page, but I am going to keep that there so that when we do go under custom fields and create our custom fields, I can show you how you would assign those fields to the different options pages. So now let's click back into opening hours. And it says no custom field groups found for this options page. Create a custom field group. So if you click on this, it just takes you to the same URL as if you would have gone to custom fields and then field groups. And now we're ready to start adding our fields. So up here, we're going to go field groups and we're going to add new. So you can see it's created a dummy field there for us, but let's just call this business opening hours. And then down here for this field that it created for us, we're going to change its field type to be a repeater. So there. And I'll show you why in just a second, but let's go down and give it a field label. And I'm going to call this general business hours. And then down here, I'm going to add a C underscore to the name of my field here, just so I can identify which ones I've created myself and which ones were created by plugins. And then at the end here, I might add the word repeater just to help me identify which field is this parent field. Now, if we go down, a repeater field type can have sub fields. So if we go down, we can add a field. And then here we'll do the name of the week. So let's just go down and it's going to be a select field. And then here we'll write day of the week. And the field name will be like C underscore general business hours day of the week. And then down here we can add our days. So let's do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we'll look at the default value in a little bit. The return format, we'll just leave it as value, and we only want them to be able to select one day, and I'll show you what this does in a second. So if I go ahead and I go up a little bit and I just collapse that, if I run through what we've done, we've added a field up here, which is a repeater. And then inside that repeater field, we add sub fields. And for now, we've added day of the week and it's a drop down, it's a select. So what I want to do now is go down, and to show this field on an actual options page, we need to assign it somewhere. Because if we click save changes now, and we go back to our options page here, so opening hours, you can see that there's nothing there. But if we come back here and go all the way to the bottom, here under location rules, we can select to show this field group if. And then here we can go all the way to the bottom and it says options page is equal to, and we can select our pages there. So we have our booking calendar, but we want to do opening hours. So let's go ahead and save changes. And now if we come back here and reload the page, you can see that if we click add row, we can select that sub field, which was the drop down, the select, and we can go add row, and add row. So that's the benefit of using the repeater field inside of advanced custom fields. You can get all the sub fields, put them on one row, and then repeat them by having this button here. So if we go back here and click back into our repeater field and go down to the sub fields, we can go ahead and add the other ones that we need. So let's go add field. And then down here, so we really only need for these general business hours for Susan to be able to select the day of the week, the opening time, and the closing time. So for here, we're going to select that the field type is a time picker. And then for the field label, we'll say opening time. And here we'll do C underscore general business hours underscore opening time. And I'll just copy that. We're going to leave that, so display format. We'll look at this a bit later on, the display format and the return format when we start writing our PHP. I'm just going to go ahead and close this field, and then we're going to go and duplicate this. So I'll go duplicate, and then we have the opening time. Let's do the closing time now. Get rid of that. and I'll just paste that there from the previous field and change opening time to closing time. And then we'll leave these again and we'll come back to it. So now if I go ahead and save this and we go back and reload the page here. So if I click add row, our repeater gives us these subfields in a row. We can go Monday, opening time, 5 a.m. until 1 p.m. And then we could go add a row, and then we could say Tuesday, and so on. So this is working now. Now, one thing that we need to do is if Susan clicks add row, see how it defaults to Monday? So to minimize user error, we just want to set this so that this doesn't have a value by default. So if she was to click add row and she didn't select a day and then she selected times like this, and she clicked to save, we want to throw an error because she needs to select a day. So let's go ahead and set that up. So it's very easy to do. So back here, we'll go edit, and we'll go down to our subfield for day of the week, and we go edit, and then we'll go down to validation, and here we're going to allow null. So now if we go save changes and go back here and reload the page, when we click add row, see how it says select, and now we can select the days. But we also want to make all of these required. So if she clicks add row, it's required to select all 3 of these subfields. So back here, let's go into here as well. And we're going to come down to day of the week, and we're going to go edit, and then validation, and then required. And we're going to do that for these other 2 fields here. So edit, validation, required, and then the last one, which is here, edit, validation, required. So now if we save changes and come back and reload here, we can go add row, and let's just say she selects Monday, and we put in some times here like this, and then click update. That's all saved. If she says add row, forgets to select the day of the week, and then chooses an opening and closing time like this, and goes update, it says validation, and then she needs to select the day, and she go, oh, actually that was for Tuesday. And then she would click update. And that's the same as she added this and select a day, forgot to select an opening time and selected just the closing and tried to save it, it will say she's forgot to do that. So this is all set up. Now, one thing that I was trying to work out that I couldn't actually work out is the following. Here, let's just say she has Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and she adds a row here, and she adds like Thursday, adds a row, does Friday, and then adds another row, and she adds Tuesday again just by accident. We're just really checking that these subfields have a value. So as long as they have a value, it's going to validate. So for Tuesday, we could do some times down here and click to update. And I'll just get rid of these for now because it's not relevant to the point I'm trying to make. Let's go update. So that validated and saved 2 different opening and closing times for Tuesday. Now I had a look in the ACF documentation and I couldn't work out how to easily, in our PHP code, check these subfields against each other to make sure that if we select Tuesday here and try and save it, in our PHP code, cycle through all of these and just make sure it isn't already set, because we obviously don't want her to do that. But yeah, it was a little bit out of my PHP skills right now, and I just couldn't work it out in the documentation. So if you have a solution for that, definitely let me know in the comments below if you can work that out. I think it can be done from looking at some forum posts, but I just couldn't quite get there. But with this current example, I mean, she's only adding, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She's adding like maximum 7 days here. So I'm sure at a glance, she can see if she's made an error. But if it was anything else, maybe we would want to actually add that check in PHP. Now, the last thing that I want to cover on the screen here is that if Susan was to go and add 5 days of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, but she doesn't add Saturday or Sunday, our code will just assume that she's closed on those days. So she doesn't actually need to go and set that she's open or closed on those days. We just in our code will say if it doesn't exist, she's closed. So this should cover the general business hours, opening and closing times. So that should cover everything that we need to do for setting up our general business opening hours. Now let's move to the exceptions. So the specific days of the year where she should be able to set a date and a time frame that she's open on that specific date. So to do that, let's go back and we're going to go and add a second repeater field. So here we're going to say add field. And I'm just going to copy this and then go down. And this field type is again going to be a repeater. So I'll go repeater and we'll go down and the field name, I'll paste that in there. And instead of general business hours repeater, we're going to change general to exception business hours. And then here we'll say business hours exceptions holidays, etc. So down here, let's add a subfield. So we'll click add field. And the first field that we're going to do is going to be a text field, where she can give the name of the holiday. So here, I'm going to go back up to here. I'm going to copy this and we'll go down and I'm going to paste that for the field name. So exception, business hours, and then at the end, we're going to say title. And then here we'll say title of holiday / exception, like that. And then down here, the default value, we're going to leave blank. But we are going to go up and under validation, we're going to make this a required field. Then let's go ahead and close this subfield and we're going to add another subfield here. And this is going to be the date of this. So here we're going to find the date. So here under jQuery, we're going to say date picker. And I'm just going to paste it from before. So see exception, business hours, and this is going to be date. Then here we'll say date, closed. And then down here, we're not going to touch any of this for now. We will play around with it when we start writing our PHP. And week starts on Monday. We're just going to leave that the same. We will go up and again, make sure that this is a required field. And then let's click close. And then let's go ahead and add another field. And this is going to be a time field. So this is the opening time. So we'll go time picker. And then here, let's change this to open time. So this would be like opening time. And we'll leave that like that. We will make this required. And then we'll close field. And then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. And we're going to do the closing time. So closing time, business hours. And then we'll say close. And we'll leave that the same like that. So there is one field that I forgot to add, and that's whether or not she wants to specify that she's going to be closed all day. So let's go ahead and add that as well. So we'll go add field there for the subfield. And then here, we're going to go down to true or false, so a Boolean. Now for the name, we'll paste that and we'll just change this to closed all day. And then for the label, we'll write closed all day. And by default, we're actually going to set this to true. So here we check that, and now it's by default set to true. Now let's just reorganize these because I want her to specify after she says the name of the holiday and the date that it is, whether or not it's open or closed. So we'll drag that up there, and then I'll click Save Changes. Now I've just reloaded the page, and you can see it's added down the bottom here. So we can go and click Add Row with our repeater. Now she could say her birthday, and then the date of her birthday, which could be tomorrow, and she's closed all day by default. She's taking the whole day off. Now, what we need to do is we need to hide the opening and closing time and only show these if she is not closed all day. So by default, she's going to say that she's closed on this date all day, but then she could say, I'm actually not. I want to only work the morning. So she would come down and pick just the morning, 9 a.m. until midday. So let's go ahead and do that. So back here, let's edit this repeater field, and we're going to go down to our subfields, and then for the opening time, we'll click edit, and then we'll go to conditional logic, and we'll turn that on, and we only want to show this field if closed all day is not equal to check. So when she unchecks it, this will show, and we want to do that the same with the closing time. So we'll edit that, conditional logic here, only show this if closed all day is not equal to checked. So now let's go ahead and save this and then come back and reload. So I'll just reload. So now add row, holiday name, date closed could be tomorrow, closed all day. Actually, we're not closed all day tomorrow. Uncheck that. Now these two fields show there. So that's all good. The last thing that I want to show you how to do is how to make this look a little bit nicer. So back here, let's click to edit our repeater, and we'll go down until we find closed all day, and I'll go edit. And because this field type is true or false, and it has to be true or false, under presentation, if we go down, it says stylized UI. And if we enable that and click save changes, back here, if we reload the page now and click add row, we get this nice toggle button. So we could say Susan's birthday, and that could be tomorrow, closed all day. Yes, add row. And then we might do New Year's Eve. And that's going to be in December, obviously, the 31st. And maybe she's only going to work in the morning. So closed all day, uncheck. Now these show. So she's going to work maybe from 7 a.m. until something like midday. And then she's going to go off and party. Let's go update. And we can see closed all day value is required. So we actually need to uncheck that. So let's go back and click edit. And I've just messed that up. So closed all day, edit, and then validation required. We'll turn that off, save changes. Now back here, I wonder if that's going to validate. Let's click update. And that's actually worked. So it must validate when you click this update button, which is really good. So that's all good. And if we click add row, again, we have the ability to do what I've just showed you. So let's leave that for now. In terms of the way that we're going to write our PHP code, I did mention this in today's video earlier on, but we're actually going to check these business hours first, the exceptions, and if nothing's found, then we check the general, because these are obviously more specific. So let's go back to here, and I'm just going to drag these in the order that we're going to write our code, just so it makes a bit more sense in my head. And the final icing on the cake before we end this section is just to make this a bit more meaningful to our client. So coming back here, for each of these repeater fields, we can come to presentation and give instructions. So business hours, exceptions, holidays, and we can just write a description here. So I just said enter the days and times of holidays, events, etc. that your salon will be closed or not operating within your general business hours. And I'll just go edit, and let's just go to this one here, general business hours, and we'll go to presentation, and I'll just write something here. And I said enter your salon's normal trading hours for each day of the week, and we'll go save. And then back here, if I reload the page, you can see it's just added the description up there. So it's a lot cleaner and it's a bit more meaningful to our client. So that should wrap up the creation of our options page. Now, I did say at the start of this section that we would go and look at how these options are saved in the database. So to do that, what I think we're going to do, the best way to look at this, is just remove everything from here. So I'm just going to delete all of these options values that we've added. So I'll delete that and this. And then let's click update. And with that done, let's go back to our field group and get the name of our first field here, which is the exception business hours, the repeater field. So I'm going to copy this. Now back here in our WP options table, let's search for that value. And you can see we have two entries here. So we have the repeater field and the repeater field ID. So this is the parent. So this is not the sub fields inside there. So if coming back here, it's this actual field here. If we right click and look at the code here, I wonder if we can get the ID of the field. So here, data key. So if I go data-key, and this is what ACF has added here for this field. If I copy this and come back and search for that, there it is there. So it looks like when you go and you create a field here for your options, it creates two rows here. It creates one here where it starts with underscore, options, underscore, and then the name of that field. And then it has the key of that field. And then it creates a second option here, which is, it doesn't have a value. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we go and have a look at this one here. So let's copy this and we'll search for that up there. And it's the same thing. So two different entries. So I'm not entirely sure why it has these two, but maybe it'll make a bit more sense when we go through and start adding some values. So let's go here and start adding some values. So let's go add row, and we'll call this Grant's birthday. And I'll just put in a date here. So let's just say the 27th of February. And let's just say it's closed all day. So we'll go update. And then let's see what that did in the database. So let's go back here and let's reload it. And that was an exception. So let's copy this and then let's search for that there. And now we have these. If we want to see the entire name here, what you can do is go to extra options and then go full text and then go. It will take a lot longer to query and you get some pretty funky results because you see all the values here. But we can go and just search for what we were looking for just then, which is that field. And this data doesn't really have too much, so it's not too bad. So having a look here now, we can see the full option name. So if I Command F to find that value, we can see that we have our main repeater field up here. I'm just going to refer to that as the parent. So we have our parent field up here, which is the repeater, and then we have our sub fields under here. And it looks like the way that it writes the database is it gets the sub field name, so the title of the exception day, the holiday, and it puts it after adding the name of the parent, the repeater. That's why they all start with a repeater, and then it goes into the, looks like it has an index. So it says 0 because it starts from 0. So if you know PHP, we start from 0 with arrays, and it looks like it starts from 0 here as well. So it goes the parent, repeater field, then the index, so 0, meaning it's the first entry for this, and then it says the name of that subfield. Now you can also see there's two different options here. So where I did Grant's birthday, that's just the normal one here. But then it also did the underscore options underscore where it did the field key. And coming back here, we have 3 subfields. So date closed and closed all day. So if we look for date here, you can see it did the same thing. So this is actually the date. So 2023, February 27, and then the underscore options here, and that's the field key. And then lastly, the closed all day, that's a Boolean. So of course it's a 1, that means it is true, which it was true here. So now let's come back here and add a second one, and let's just call this something like Boxing Day, and we'll do that. So that's gonna be in December, and it will be the 26th there. And let's just say we're not closed all day, and the opening time is, let's just say we open early on Boxing Day, so 7 a.m., and maybe we close early that day, so 3 p.m. So let's go ahead and update. And like I was saying before, that index, the first one starts at 0, and then it increments to 1. And then if we added another one, that would become 2. A little bit confusing if you're not used to writing PHP code, but just know that things count from 0. The first one is 0. So now that if I refresh this, we have 2 entries there. This should be index 0, and this should be 1. So let's go back here, and so let's just reload the page over here, and then let's search for that again. You can see we've got a couple more rows here. So 0, that's that first row there. And then you can see how it goes from 0 to 1 here. And that's the second entry that we did there. And then we have, again, the name of the holiday. We have the date. We have closed all day. It's set to 0, which means false. So we're not closed all day. And then we have the opening time. And then we have the closing time. And you can see how we selected that to be a time field. You can see how those values are saved in the database here for the time. Now let's go ahead down here for general business hours, and we'll add a row, and let's just say this is Monday, and we open from 9 a.m. and we close at something like 5 p.m. and we'll go update. And then we'll go back here, and we need to get this here. So I'll just copy that for the general business hours. And then back here, let's reload the page, and then let's search our table. Now having a look here, we have our parent repeater field there, just like before. And then we have, it's the same deal. So we have down here, it starts at 0 for that first entry. So this is all to do with that first entry. The day of the week is just saved as a value, the opening time and the closing time. So we'll wrap up this section here. I just wanted to give a brief overview of how this is working in terms of writing to the database. I was just curious, and I thought maybe there's other people that are curious as well. If anyone watching this does know whether or not the underscore does make a difference in the options table, if it does behave like a custom field where if it starts with an underscore, it's a hidden field. If that is the case, definitely let us know in the comments below. So now let's go on to the next section. So now we're ready to start putting together our PHP function. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go down here to WP Codebox, and I'll pull that across. And the way that I'm going to structure this is I'm going to keep this PHP snippet here for our options page, and then I'm going to go up to here and click new snippet, and we're going to create a new snippet for our function. So I'm going to call this store hours, and this could be PHP function, or we could actually say is store open, like that. So that could be the name of our function we're going to write today. And everything else, we can leave it as it is. So I'm going to go ahead and just collapse that, and then we'll just save that, and we will enable and turn it on. And then let's start creating our function. So let's do function is store open, like that. And then we can start writing our code. So by default, the way that this needs to work is let's just assume that our store is currently closed. And if we go through our function and we find that it's within business hours, we will then set it to be open. So here, let's create a variable open, and we'll say equals false. And we'll add a comment, the store is closed by default. So I'm going to go ahead and save this function. And now that we've done that, let's go back to the advanced custom fields documentation. And if we go down a little bit, we can see template usage, and it shows us how to get the data from there. Now, if you have used custom fields before with advanced custom fields, you're probably used to seeing this. The only difference between accessing a normal custom field value and one from our options page is by adding this second parameter at the end here. So if we copy this, and I was to put it over here. So normally if you're accessing custom fields data, it's just that. So the field and then the custom field name. Or if you wanted to not output this on the page and you want to save it into a variable, you could just say variable equals, and then you change the to get. And so now it gets the value of this custom field and saves it in that variable. But those two examples there where we're accessing a custom field value and saving it to a variable, or we're outputting it on the page like this is accessing the post meta table. But we actually want to access the WP options table like I showed you in the previous section. And so that's what adding this second parameter does. So that's really the only difference we need to do today to access our options data. So I just want to run through that quickly. So let's go back and let's start doing this. So by default, our store is currently set to false. And then let's go down and then let's start accessing our custom field data from our options table. So back here in our field group, if I go down, there's our label, and this is the name of our field. So if we just copy this, you can just click here, copy. And here we could say ACF underscore exceptions equals, and then get underscore field like that. And then we do comma, and then here we write option. So if we save that, it says we need to change the plugins loaded again. So we'll go here, and then we'll click here, and we'll change that to plugins loaded. And then we will collapse that and click save. And if you skipped ahead to this section, I actually did cover why we need to update that to plugins loaded. So definitely go back and watch that section. I'm not quite sure where it was, maybe in the initial setup of today. So now let's just go ahead and see what data is in this variable. So to do that, I'm just going to copy this, and I'll come down here and I'll write var underscore dump like that. And we will paste that in there. If we save this, and I go to the front end and we reload the page, nothing's happening because we haven't actually caused this function to execute. So down here, let's just write echo and then the name of the function like that. So it, basically this is just forcing our function to run and output the result. So let's go save. And then up here, we'll reload, and you can see there's our data there. Now, if we right click and go view page source, you can see that it's looking a lot neater there. So we can refer to this if we want to see like a nice neat outline of the variable there. We can also, I saw this in a video that I was watching, I thought it was actually quite clever, is if we go back here and we wrap outputting our variable here in HTML pre-tags. So if we did, for example, echo and then pre like that, and then close that. And if you're new to PHP, echo is what you use to print this in your page. So instead of this where we saved our custom field into a variable, and it's just saved as a variable, it's not output anywhere on our page, to actually show it on our page, like print it, we write echo and then this. So what this is going to do is it's going to print this pre-tag, output our variable data, and then under here we'll write echo like this, and we can close that pre-tag. Now if I save that, and we go back here to the front end and we reload the page, you can see that it's nice and neat. So if I right click and inspect element, you can see that a pre-tag, if we open that up, it takes that data and it cleans it up for us. And it is actually a HTML tag, obviously. So if we go HTML pre-tag and have a look, it says the pre-tag defines pre-formatted text. Text in a pre-tag element is displayed in a fixed width font, and the text preserves both spaces and line breaks. So that's what we want to use to output our code here for testing. But as we're going through, if we always want to output the variables that we're working with to see what data is there to then use it in our functions, it's going to get quite tedious to do this. So what I saw that was quite clever in another video is they created a function to do this. So I want to set that up just to make today's video a little bit easier to follow along. So let's create a new function down here, and we can call this whatever we want. I might just call this pre-dump. So it's a var dump in pre-tags, and then I'll just, inside this function, what we want to do is just copy this, and we're going to move it down there, so paste. And then what we want to do here is add a parameter that's going to be passed into this function, and let's call it something like variable. And then we just want to get this, and we want to move that down there. All we have to do now is get rid of that, and we can reference our function. So we can write, I'll just copy that, so we can write pre-dump, and then inside here, we put the name of our variable, which should be this, like that. And what this is going to do is it's going to run our function pre-dump, and it's going to pass the value of this variable, which is our custom fields, our advanced custom fields data. So it's going to get our data there and pass it down here, and then it's going to output pre-tags, then var dump our variable, and then put it into pre-tags again. So it's basically the equivalent. This line here is basically, in case you don't know, taking our variable here and doing that and doing that. And then it outputs this. So let's just undo that. And let's go ahead and save this. And now back here on the front end, we can reload the page, and you can see that's all nice and neat here on the front end. So that is outputting this variable there, or this advanced custom fields data. But let's just say we wanted to output this data as well for the general business hours. Now all we need to do is just come down here and write pre_dump like that. And we could even just pass this. So if we copied this and pasted that inside of there, and then back here, we copy this variable name and we put that there. Now we're getting the value of our option field from advanced custom fields and then passing it down here, and we'll print it out nice and neat on the front end. So let's save that. And back here, if we reload the page and we go down, you can see that is down there. Now, I promise this is all worth going through right now because it's going to make the entire video today just a lot faster and a lot easier to follow along. There's a couple of things that I want to do with this function, or maybe just one, but the first thing I want to do is just show you what this data is. So these are the exceptions here, and you can see we have sort of two groups of data. So we have one here and one there. And down here for our general business hours, we have one. If we go back and have a look at the data under our opening hours options page, you can see we have two up here and we have one down there. So we know we're getting all the data and it's all correct, and it's exactly what we want to work with today. Now, something that I've been finding is useful for me going out and testing my PHP is when I am outputting multiple things here to be able to work with, and I'm dumping the values of my variables. As you start writing a lot more code, I do find it can be beneficial to me if I color code these. So I know, if this is blue and this is red up here, I know they're two different variables that I'm dumping on the page. So what we can do up here is for our function, our first variable that we pass into it could be the variable, the data, and then we could do a comma, and our second one could be color. And then here we could say if, like this, and if there's no color variable set, then we could set a default for color, and we could set this to equal red like it currently is. But if a color variable is passed, we can set it to a custom color. So here for our pre tag, we can do echo pre, and then we could just do style and then equals. And then inside, so in here we could do style and then equals. And then we can put inside of here, so ... like that. So if you don't know what this is, we will be touching on this in today's video as well. This is concatenation. So this is just joining two things together. And then in here, we will do color. So now let's go ahead and save this. And back here on the front end, let's reload. And we've got an error. So let's go back and okay, so I think let's just try and get rid of this there and save. And go back and reload. So that's working. Okay, so it's to do with that. So troubleshooting. Okay, so I just paused the video because when I saved this, on the front end, we were getting an error. So I just wanted to work through what that error was, and I've figured it out. And I want to show you what I did to troubleshoot it and what the error actually ended up being. So if we go back here, if I was to try and reload this page now, so I'll just go to any admin page and I try and reload it, I can't access this. So WP Codebox in their documentation, they have a safe mode. So if you go to their documentation, just type in or look for this this article. You want to copy this and add it to your WP config file. So you can see I went ahead and added it there and then save this file, and I'll just upload it back to the server. And now that that's done, if I reload this page now, you can see that that's working. So once I did that, I was able to come back into here and sort of play around with this code. And what I ended up doing is I just went through and I first removed this to see if it was actually this function causing the error. So if I save this and then go back to my code editor and I just uncomment the safe mode for WP Codebox and upload this back to the server. Now, if I went to the front end of my website, I was still getting an error. So coming back here, I was trying to work out what the error was, and I was thinking, well, I did actually notice that I'm echoing a function here. We don't actually need to do that. We can actually just get rid of echo there. And what this will do is when our website goes to load, it will execute this function anyway. And then in our function, we can start echoing things out there, or we can use our pre-dump to output our things on the page. So I got rid of that, but that wasn't causing the error, because if I save this now and we go back and reload, it's still throwing an error. So then I went down and I was like, okay, well, it has to be something to do with this color. So I got rid of that, saved, went back and reloaded, and then the page was loading again. So I was looking at this and I realized that we have up here, sorry, that's from my testing before, but we had up here pre-dump and then our variable. So that was going down here, pre-dump, then our variable. And then we had this second parameter here, but we weren't passing a second parameter anywhere else. So if I kept it like this and I did comma, and then here I did green, and then for this one here, after where the field is, I added a color here as well, so orange. Now that our function here where we're calling it, we're passing the variable color, and this expects variable and color, 2 parameters. Now that we're always passing the 2 parameters it expects, if we save this, and if I reload the page, and now that is working. So what I realized is that we don't want to pass a color all the time. So up here, for example, we might just want to set the default to red, but then if we want to pass this second parameter here for color, but we don't always want to do that. And that's the problem. Currently, it's always wanting 2 parameters. Otherwise it throws an error. So what we can do is, let's just say up here, I got rid of this second parameter like that. So we only pass the first one, and we save that and we go back and reload, we get the error. But then down here, we can set color equals null by default. And now if I save this and go back and reload the page, now it's working. So yeah, maybe an obvious error to some, but this is why we're practicing. So hopefully I don't make that mistake again. But then I also realized another error here, that was because this is just outputting red. It's not outputting our orange color there. So that's not taking effect. And I realized that's because down here, this should be like style equals, and then this should be like color equals, red or orange, whatever it is. So I'd forgot to put the color there. So here, let's do style equals and then color. And this needs to be in quotes as well. So style equals color and then colon, and then the name of the color, and then we'll close that. So now if we save this and we go back and reload the page, you can see now that's taking effect. And if I come back and change that to green, just so we can see what's going on, and save that and go back and reload. Now, if I right click and inspect element and go down, you can see we have our style equals color green. So that's applying there. So now back here, whenever we're dumping something, for example, if I wanted to change the color of this, I could go, black like that, and go save, and back here, reload. And now that's black. So we have our setup now, and I might just add some comments. So functions for testing. Now, before we do go on to continuing to help Susan today, I do want to spend a bit of time here on why this failed. So when we went back and we only had that, this function is expecting 2 parameters, but our problem was that we were only passing it 1 parameter. So PHP, it's going to throw an error if you do that. And the way that you need to get around that is by setting defaults for these. So if we are always going to say that the first parameter that we pass to a function is going to be the variable, and then the color is going to be optional, we need to set a value for this, so a default value. So here we could do equals null, which means that, just ignore it. So basically it's set to nothing. And here color would equal null, so then it would get set to red. We can also check that here where with this first one up there, or if I just uncomment this second one, and we keep this first one here, we haven't set the color here. And so when it comes down here, color would be null. So let's actually go and var dump the color attribute and see, the color variable and see what that is. So back here, let's reload the page and you can see it is null. So color here equals null. And then if there's no color, which is null, then it goes into here. So let's get rid of that. So that's why it is setting it to red by default, and it's not throwing an error because we have set the default there. We could also set a default. It doesn't have to be null. We could set it to red. This would be another way to do it. So here we're setting the default for color to equal red, and we can actually just get rid of that. And so the way that this is going to work now is we're going to call that function, set the first parameter here, which is our variable, which is going to be here, and then default color equals red. So it's going to go echo color, and then color is by default red. So if we save this, now if we go back and reload and right click and go to inspect element, we can see that style color equals red. Now, if we go back here and we were to go comma and then here set an actual color like blue and save this, now we're passing the two parameters, and for color, even though it's default to red, it's actually going to be set to blue now. So if we go back here and reload the page, you can see color blue, and this is changed to blue. But that is in fact why we were getting an error, because we hadn't set a default value here. And so when we weren't sending that second parameter, didn't know what to do, and it threw the error. Now you might be wondering why we don't set a default for the variable, and that's data inside the variable. So that's always going to be set there. So we don't really need to set a default there. So I know that isn't in relation to helping solve Susan's problem today with her website and opening hours, but I think just at the end of the day, this is just mainly about practicing our PHP and problem solving. And if we come up with a problem, I may as well just not cut it out of this video and go through what the problem is, how to solve it, so that, hopefully you can learn something as well. Now, the last thing that I will say about this is that it's definitely worth going and looking at the PHP docs on these things. They are really well written and they explain things very clearly. So one that we just looked at is function arguments. So when we're doing our function, specifying the arguments that it can take, so the parameters and stuff like that, the argument list. Actually, just on that, what's the difference between a parameter and an argument? Let's go type in PHP and go to, just say, for example, this one. A parameter is a variable in a method. The arguments are the data you passed into it. So coming back into here, where we define our function, these would be the parameters of the function. And then up here where we actually call that function, we're passing these arguments to the function. So parameters and arguments. So this document here, function arguments, I definitely recommend going and checking that one out to learn a bit more. Another one that I think is worth checking out would be this one here, type declarations. So you should be able to just search for these in the search bar and they'll come up. But the main reason I wanted to draw your attention to this one is if we go down to, for example here, you can see that when they create their function here, they put the name of the function, and then this is the parameter of the function, but then they write the word array before it. So this is type declarations, where you're setting the type of data that a variable needs to be. So back down on that one we're looking at, it's saying here that this parameter can only be passed to this function in the format of being an array. So coming back to our function here, for this parameter color equals red, if we only want to allow people to pass one color and it needs to be in a string, so text, we could write string, And now it will only be valid if the color is passed as like a word, a string. So if we were to come up to here and we were, instead of writing blue, we tried to pass like 2 colors. So like blue and red. When that goes down, this is the type array. It would come down to here, and this function only allows string here as a data type. So it should throw an error. So let's try and see what happens here. Let's save this. And then back here, let's reload the page. And it says there's a critical error. Now, if I come into GridPane, which again is the software I use to manage all my WordPress websites, and I just go and find my error log. If you're not using this, you just use FTP or whatever. So if I click here, and then click on logs, you can see I have my debug log on. So if I go view, I can see this first line says PHP fatal error, uncaught type error. So the type of data is throwing an error on our pre-dump function, which is correct. Argument 2, color, as we expected. And if I go across here, it says argument 2 color must be of type string, but an array was given, and it says what line that happened on, and it was in WP Codebox and so on. But coming back here, so I thought that was a good addition to today's video. But let's go ahead and just revert this back to a string. So we might say this first one needs to be green, and I'm just going to uncomment this one again for the second options there, and I will make this the red, so I won't set a default. So we'll just go like that, and then let's save that, go back here, reload. The error is gone away. We have our 2 colors. Let's get back to helping Susan do what we're trying to do for her today. Okay, so I'm going to move that down just so we're not distracted. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to make these names a little bit more meaningful. So ACF exceptions, this is the parent repeater field. That's why we're getting the repeater here. So I'm going to go ahead and at the end add repeater. And for the general business hours, we're going to deal with that once we complete this exceptions one up the top. So let's only focus on one at a time for now. So this here, get field, exceptions, business hours repeater. If I copy that, and actually just quickly, you can see in our admin area, it's loading up the top there. So let's only load that on the front end. So back here, we can just put this in a check to see if it's an admin page. So we'll do an if statement here, and then we'll close it down there. And as long as it's not an admin, so if it's not is underscore admin. So if it's not an admin page, run our functions. So let's save that. And then if we go back here and we reload, now that's not outputting there. But here where it's not an admin page, and it's saying null because we changed this here, but we're dumping the old variable name. So we'll dump the new variable name. So I'll save that. Come back here, reload. So here, it's not an admin page. We're showing our var dump. But back here, when it is an admin page, when we reload, it's not going to interfere with us there. So again, this is the parent, the repeater. So we're getting all the data from here, which contains all the subfields data, and we're saving it to this variable here, ACF exceptions repeater. And then we're just putting it out on the front end with our dump function. So coming back, let's actually look at what this data contains. So you can see that array, it has 2 items in the array. That's why it says 2. And arrays in PHP start with the index of 0. So they count from 0 being the first, and they count up from 0. So 0 is the first and 1 is the second. And that's just our 2 items here. So you can see for the first item here in the array, the first part of the square bracket is the key, and the second part is the value. And the key is the subfield. So here we have exception business hours title, the subfield, the key, and the value for that is Grant's birthday. And that matches here, Grant's birthday. And then we have date closed and so on. And that just goes down to here. So this is the all day, and it is set to true. Business hours open, we haven't set, and we haven't set because we're closed all day. And the second one, Boxing Day, has the date. Closed all day is false, and so we've set open and close times. So with that data in there, we first need to get the current time of Susan's business so that then we can loop through these 2 different values here and check to see whether or not the store is open. So let's go ahead and get the current time. So coming back into here, I'm just going to say get the current time of Susan's business. And remember, that's going to be, and And remember, we're getting that from WordPress, which is going to be under settings and general. So equals settings general, because we've set her WordPress website to obviously be in the time zone of her business. So let's go ahead and get that. So to do that, let's head on over to WordPress, and under Learn, we'll go to Developers. And this is where we get all of our functions inside of WordPress core. So let's go down and click to Code Reference, and then let's search for time zone, and let's do WP time zone. And we can see that adding this function WP time zone, that retrieves the time zone of the site as a date time zone object. And that object word is very key for what we're about to do. But because WordPress is built on PHP, this date time zone, we can actually search for this inside the PHP docs. So if you go up here and you just search for date time zone and you click on this first one here under classes, you'll land on this page here, and it says that this class date time zone has these constants, so like these attributes, and then it also has these methods, which are sort of functions that are specific to this class. Now, when you go ahead in programming and you create an object, you're creating an instance of this class. So the class is like the scaffolding, and then the object is the actual creation of one of those classes. So you can have many objects of one class. That makes sense. It'll make more sense as we go through today's video. And getting better at explaining that is going to be something that I definitely want to focus on, and making more of these videos and watching more tutorials is going to help me better articulate it, make me a better programmer, and hopefully make you a better programmer as well. So that's the aim of these sort of challenges, but just know that for now, and we're going to explore it as we go through today's video. So let's go ahead and get this, and we'll come back here and let's put that into our function here. And then I'll just put a colon there. So now this is going to run, and let's set this as a variable. So WordPress time zone equals this, and then let's show that. Let's dump that. So pre_dump like that, and we'll just dump this variable on the front end so we can see what data's in it. So let's save, and let's actually give this a color. So let's make this purple, and then save. And then back here on the front end, let's reload. So we can see that this object was created based on this class, as we just saw, and it has two properties. So up here, where an array, you call these like the key and then the value, so key value pairs. Down here with an object, these are properties. So the property for time zone type is an integer, and it's the 3. And down here, the second property is time zone, and that's a string. So it's 16 characters, and that's Australia and Sydney. So now what we can do, let's just go ahead and test that. So let's go back here and then go to settings and then go to general. And then here, let's change this to something like Perth, and we'll go down and save changes. And then back here, let's reload the page, and that changes to Australia and Perth. Okay, so it's obviously working. I just wanted to show you that. So let's go back and just revert that to Sydney. We'll click save and then come back and reload. So now that we've got the current time zone here, Australia, Sydney, let's go back here. And I was looking at here for a way to go out and basically from that time zone object that we have, find out what the current date was and the current time. But I'm having a look here and looking at all these, what we have access to and the examples down the bottom, it doesn't look like we can go ahead and do that. So I think, we need to do something else. So I was looking at date time, and we can go down. We just got to have a look here. So can we get the current time, set times and, so it's this one here. So I've used it. So format, if we click on this, so I think date time immutable. And then we go down a little bit. You can see this is where we can start putting like D for day, and we get the day of the month, and it gets output like that. So this is what we need. And this is what I've used previously to do this. One thing that I am wondering is what the difference is between date time and date time immutable, because we have date time interface, date time immutable, date time format. So going down, if we have a look, so immutable objects. So mutable versus immutable. So mutability is a property of instances of objects in object-oriented languages. It refers to whether or not a method on the object changes the data referenced by that object's pointer. If the method changes the data referenced by the object, it is considered to be mutable. If the method does not change the data referenced, it is considered immutable. So, a long way to go on this development journey. So if we go back to the, where were we before? So the date time zone class, which we're already using here, that object is created with the date time zone class. If we go back here, so the methods are the functions that can be used in that class. And so if we go back to date time immutable, if we choose date time immutable over the normal date time, what that means is that when we create an object with this class, we can't use any of these methods down here to change its value, which we don't want to change its value. We actually want to make sure it can't be changed because it's a specific date and time of that time zone. So based on that, we definitely do want to use the date time immutable where it can't be changed. So I'm just editing this video now, and I thought that I wanted to investigate this mutable versus immutable a little bit more and look at the date time versus date time immutable. So I landed on the Stack Overflow where someone gives a really good example, and I wanted to include it here for people that might be curious as well as to the difference. So it says here, as per the PHP documentation, the date time class behaves the same as the date time immutable, except objects are modified itself when modification methods such as datetime modify are called. So it goes through a really good example here. So if we go down, if we have a variable, I'll just zoom in here. So if we have a variable date and we create a new object, date time, and then we go tomorrow equals the date, and then the method modify, and we're adding a day. And then we echo the original date variable here, and then the tomorrow, you can see that it outputs the same value. And this shows why date and time is mutable. It can be changed because even though we created a second variable here for tomorrow, we took the original object and did the modify method on it to increment by a day. But because it's mutable, it took this and modified it. So by doing this, we're actually setting both of these variables to be the same because this method is modifying this object. And again, if we go up, we have a look, the class behaves the same as a date time immutable, except objects are modified itself when modification methods, which is this, are used. So that's what's happening there. This method here is modifying the original. So this gets affected, but then we also create this here with that data there. So that's why it's the same. Now, if we go down, and so it explains that there as well, so you can pause it if you want to read that, but it's basically what I just said. And down here, if we execute the same modification, but on the immutable version, so date equals new date time immutable, tomorrow equals our date up here with the modifier method of adding a day, and then we echo the original date, and then we echo the tomorrow, we actually see that increment. And it gives a good explanation down here. Because in date time immutable, the modification methods, again, which is this, don't return the same instance. They give you a fresh one, also immutable. So that's what's happening there. Instead of just getting this date variable and then modifying it with this method and then are they equal the same, it's saying it gives us a fresh one. So they're two different variables, two different date time immutable objects. This also means that you must assign its result to a variable, like in the previous example where we did tomorrow. So if we go down here, it says, due to this behavior, the immutable version should be preferred over the mutable one virtually always. Accidentally modifying an instant of a date you didn't mean to modify is quite commonly occurring bug. So I just wanted to put that in there. It is something that I didn't know, and after investigating it a little bit more, I think it really is important to understand that. So let's go back to the video. So knowing that the date time immutable class, if we copy this is what we're going to create our objects with. So if we go down, you can also see there's methods that we can use here. And the method that we want to use is format. So what that means is back here, when we're trying to get the current date and time of our time zone, we could do, let's just do Susan, well, I'll call it Actually, we'll call it local for Susan's business. So local date time equals, and then we need to create a new object that is an instance of the date time immutable class. And then in here, we will do that. And then back here, before we get the actual date and time, we need to set the time zone that this object's going to be created on. So I think it's this set time zone. If we go down, so new date time immutable, and then the current date. But we should be able to do this, new date time zone, and then that. So Australia and then Sydney. So coming back here, we already have that in our object. So it's the second property, time zone. So if I copy that and go back here, let's try and output that there. So I'll uncomment that for now, and I'll uncomment that. And let's just focus on being able to access that there. So let's try, WordPress time zone. And this is going to be the data. Let's just rename this to, or like object, for example. So this is the time zone object, and then we want the actual time zone. So all we want to get is Australia/Sydney. So let's do equals, and then let's try and access this. So it's the object, and then we want to access a property inside that object, and we want to access time zone. So let's go back and paste that there, and let's end that. And then let's pre-dump that there. So let's just copy that and put that in there. Let's see if that works. Let's save that. And back here, let's reload, and it's empty. So that didn't work. Let's go back and comment that out, and we'll just, let's go and let's output our object again. So there. And I might actually move that up there because that's what we're outputting there. So let's save this and go back and reload. So we know this object is the date time zone class. So let's see how we can actually just access the time zone here. So let's go back up to here and let's search for that there, date time zone, back to the class. So I'm just trying to work out how to access that time zone from within this object. What if we search for time zone and we look for, what do we got? Search PHP. So I'm really trying not to use Google here. I'm trying to work it out from here because obviously I don't know how to do this. And it's definitely something that I want to get comfortable doing. So building confidence, but I'm just trying to work out what to do here. So we have this object that's outputting this. We have the time zone type, and we have the actual time zone in there. So we just need to get this somehow, and that down here in our date time immutable, we need to do that somehow. But I just can't work out how to access it because this isn't working. Save time zone. Sorry, I need to output that there. And we might output this as black. And I'll just get that and paste that down there. So this is doing that. This is doing that. So let's save and reload. So it's null. So it's not accessing the current time zone. So date time zone. So looking, wait a second. Gets the name of the time zone. Is this, I think this is going to work. Let's go back here, and for there, instead of doing that, let's put that in there and then output it in the black. Let's save that. And where are we? Back here, let's reload. We did it. Oh my God. That was so stupid. So coming back and analyzing what I was doing wrong, you can't, again, go and access the property of an object by just basically going to it and going, oh, I have my object, I want that. And then coming back and just going, I'll access it like that. It doesn't work. You need to access it using what's called a method. So the object here was created using the date time zone class. So we went to the PHP docs date time zone class. We went down and then we found the methods, which are like the functions to access that data. And then we had get name. And if you go down here at the bottom, it also explains what that does. So date time zone, the method get name returns the name of the time zone. So if you want to use any of these, so get name, get offset, get location, you just do the object and then the arrow and then the name of that method. But with that done, we have now got it. So again, I'll save this, and coming back here, we have access to that. So now let's go and get the current date and time of our time zone. So coming back into here, I'm just going to get rid of that, and we're going to uncomment this. The local date and time, This is going to be an object. I'll just put it at the end. Equals, I am going to rename some of these just quickly, the variables. So WP time zone object, I'll just go OBJ for a bit short. And then, so that's going to get the current, this gets the time zone object from settings general. And then we're outputting it there for testing. And then here the time zone, this outputs the name. So let's rename this to WordPress time zone name. And this actually outputs this here, which is Australia, Sydney. So I will add that there. And that's just outputting the name. So we'll just put that down there. And now let's go ahead and try and get this into there to get the current date and time. And then we just need to update that, sorry. And then we'll save that. And that goes down there. Cool. So that should all work. So that's looking good. So we have that all there. So let's try and get the current date and time with this. So let's get this date, time, immutable. And we're back here. So we need somehow to pass it our time zone of Australia, Sydney, and then be able to get the current date and time from that. So coming down, I can see that the method used to construct it, I guess, I wonder, like, I'm still learning about this, but I'm wondering if these underscore constructs, I wonder if this method here, this function, is what creates the object for that class. So I'm not quite sure, but if we go back here, it says that this takes two parameters. So a string for the date time, which defaults to now. And the second one here is a date time zone object, time zone equals null. So, I mean, there's only one comma there, so it's two parameters. I'm not quite sure why there's two of these here, but the second parameter here is time zone equals null by default. So we want to get the current date and time, which is now, but we want to set our time zone to Sydney, Australia. So I think we can just pass in we can just write now, and then we can pass in our time zone. So coming back here, we can just write now, comma, and then our time zone, which is going to be the name up here, which would be Australia, Sydney. So let's do that, and let's just see what we have access to here. So pre-dump, like that. And we'll put our local date time object in there. And we might make this a green. And we'll save. And then back here, so we have an error. So coming back here, let's have a look at why that is. So down here, so set time zone, returns with a new time zone. So date equals new date immutable. But we don't really want to put date set time zone. So I think what we're doing wrong here, new date immutable, and then it's the current time with a new date time zone there. So I'm just going to copy this and let's go back, and I'm just going to put that there just to reference. So let's go back and let's have a look. So construct. So if we go down, it says returns a new date immutable object. So that's what we're trying to do. So if we go up, so string date time equals now, and then, so now, that's default, but we'll leave it for now. And then I don't really know what this question mark means before that. So having a look, PHP argument type hinting with question mark. It's a new feature. A question mark means that the type hinted parameter or return value is also allowed to be null. So it must be either null or have a value in the specified type. You cannot just omit it. So it must be either null or have a value in the specified type. You cannot just omit it. So public function array. So extensions would need to be null or be in the array data type. Now if you call, so coming back here, it's saying that this second one, date time zone, needs to be null. Oh, okay. I think I get this. So this is like the type that time zone needs to be in, and time zone is null by default. So this second parameter needs to be either, so this second parameter either needs to be null or it needs to be in the date time zone format, that class. Okay, so I got it. So we need to actually create a new date time zone there. So the time will be now, and then here we need to say new date time zone. And then in here, we need to find this. So let's search for, there. So new date time zone. So this is the class. And then in here, we need to new date time. What is this? New date time zone class returns the name of the time zone, creates a new. So if we go to construct, it takes the time zone there, which is the name. So if we go down, we're looking at date time zone and then that. So we actually add that in there. So this is where we add our time zone name. So copy that and put that in there. And this will output in the green. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's go back and reload the page and go down, and we have it. All right, Jesus. I don't know how much of that I'm going to edit out. That was like half an hour of trying to work out how to do that, but we got there in the end. Okay, so that was really confusing to do because I had never, not from memory, when you're going and, where are we? When we were going and doing like a new object based on a class, and then we did a new date time zone. If we're on the date time immutable and we go down, usually you'd see here like string or array or stuff like that. I just didn't know that you could set like that the type for this parameter needs to be a specific class. So and this question mark means it's either null or it has to be in this given format. So that's interesting. You learn, mate, if I keep doing these videos like even every week, like it's just gonna advance my progress so much more. And making these videos just forces me to learn this sort of stuff. But we've done it. So coming back here, I'm going to get rid of that. We don't need that anymore. So now this is outputting the local date time object here, which is this here. So now let's go and output the current date and the current time. So we know this is a date time immutable object. So if we go back here, now we just need to try and work out how to do that. And so I know that it's this method here just because I remember doing this last week. But if we didn't know how to do that, we could come into here and say, okay, we have this object created based upon the date time immutable class. We want to access this property here, which has the date and the current time, the timestamp. How do we go and access the date property? So we'd come back here onto the date time immutable class. If we go down, I can see that there's a method here called format. So it's going to take one parameter, which is a string. And if we click into this and go down a little bit, we can see that we start adding letters and stuff like that, and it will output this there. So to go up one step, remember we have our date time immutable, which is this. And then we want to go ahead and use a method, which is format. So back here in our code, let's go local date, and that will equal our object up here. And then we do this to access that method for format. And then in here, we know this format method coming back here takes one parameter and it's a string. So if we click into this, we can have a look here. So it actually takes two parameters. So procedural. So we're not using procedural, we're using object. So we wouldn't use this parameter here, and it says procedural style only. So instead of using procedural, we're using object-oriented programming. That's why we have the classes and the objects. So we don't use this, we only have the one, it's a format and it's a string. So let's go down and just output, what did I say, the date today. So let's have a look for the date. So day of the month without leading zeros. And then we can do day of the month with leading zeros. So let's do that. So if I copy this and go back in here, we can just create our string. So we'll do D like that. And today, locally in Sydney, it's the 19th of February. So this should output 19. So let's save this. So now let's just pre-dump this. So I'm gonna start copying and pasting there, and we'll put that into there. And we might make, let's make this purple. So let's save, and back here, let's reload. And you can see now we're outputting 19. To get the current day and month, which is what we're going to be comparing her opening hours with locally in our time zone. So now let's go down and add the current month. So for this, we could use the entire, January, February, March, April, or we could just use the first 3 letters. And I'm going to do that there. So to do that, we'll just get this. So M there. So capital M. You can see lowercase m and capital M. They have different outputs here. So we definitely want the uppercase M. So we'll copy that and we'll come back here and we just do a space and then we paste that in there. And now this should output 19 and then Feb like that. So let's save that. And now if we go back and reload, you can see 19 and Feb. If we want to get the current time, we could just copy that and then paste that down there and local time. We just need to change the format. So we just need the hours and the seconds really. So let's try and find that. So 12 hours. So we will do 24 hours here. And you'll see why as we go through today's video, and we'll do it with the leading zeros. So let's do that. So copy that, and then we'll come here. So it's going to be capital H. And then now that we have the hours, let's do the minutes with leading zeros, which is this I. So we'll copy that. And then back here, we will put them together. So now this should output, the current time is 1:20 p.m. So it'll be 13:20. Now let's go ahead and output that as well. So local time there, and we'll put this back to red. So I'll save that, reload, and there it is there. So now that we have access to the data of Susan's time zone, what we need to do now is up here, we need to look at our options and we need to look at the current date here. And then we need to check whether or not that equals Susan's date. So what we first need to do is get this format here and put it into this format. So for example, we're going to have the day, year. Sorry, what? So we're going to have the day, month, and then 4-digit year. Now we do have another option. What we could do is if we want to work with the 21st of Feb, we can do the following. Back here inside of advanced custom fields where we're doing the exceptions, we could edit here and we can go down to where we have the date closed and we could edit this and we can go down and the display format this side, this is what Susan sees in her options page in the admin area, and the return format is what's given to us in PHP. So what we can actually do is we could do a custom, and because this is all just using PHP, we can just put in exactly what our function takes it as. So it'll be lowercase d space uppercase m, so we can copy that. And then back here, we can paste that in there, and then we could save changes. And back here, if we reload and we go up a little bit, now you can see this says the 27th of Feb. So now that we have this being returned and it matches the format of down here, we can just go ahead and compare that. So let's get into our code, which is here, and then we'll just add some code down here. Now, I know we are pre-dumping a lot of this stuff to see the values of our variables. Over time, we'll come and just remove some of them, but I just want to leave them there for now because it's just going to help explain and diagnose problems that come along the way. So let's go ahead. So we're going to start our loop, and this is going to check if the current local time zone from WordPress date matches a date in ACF exception days. So going back up, we have this variable here again, which is the repeater for our exceptions days. And that's what's being output there. So we're going to copy this and we're going to go down and we're going to use that there. Now, if we go up where we're dumping this on the front end in green, which is this here. So inside each item in the array, which is here, we want to then look at the key, this, and then get its value. And then once we have its value, compare it to this down there, the WordPress time zone. So coming back here, let's go down, and we need to do this using a loop. So we'll do for each, and we'll do that. So it's going to be for each loop, and it's for each of these as, and then I'll just paste that there, ACF exceptions, and we could just say child. And then in here, we could say this. And then to access the key of this, we just copy that, because it's an array, we can come back here and put square brackets in there. And then just in here, we can do that. So now we have access to the data in there, and we want to do an if statement. So if, and we'll put that in there like that, like that. So if the data in this key equals, and then we want to go up and we want to do this here, the local date. So if it equals the local date, and then down here, we could say echo date found like that. So let's save this. And just to check here, we can do else. If there's no matches, we could just say echo date not found like that. So if we come back here and reload the page, so you can see it says date found, and it also says date not found. And the reason that's happening is because, again, the loop's running twice here. So it checks here, it's found, and then it checks again and is not found. Now you might be wondering, well, when we do find it the first time, then should we just stop running the loop? And that's actually not going to be the case, because coming back into here, we want to give Susan the ability to add multiple timeframes for the same day. So for example, let's say Boxing Day, maybe she's going to open at 7 a.m. and she might close at like 10 a.m. But then also, so let's just say a.m. and then p.m. Then also here for the same date, she's not closed all day. Maybe she comes back to work at say 3 p.m. and she works until like 8 p.m., something like that. So when our loop goes and it finds that the current date equals the date listed here, we still need to go through and find some other ones in case there are other entries here that match. So we're not actually going to exit the loop here. If we did want to exit it, we could just say break, and that would break out of this loop and stop checking any further items that we're looping through. But what we need to now do is we need to continue going through these different items and checking if there's any other timeframes for the current day. So back here where I did 2 dates for Boxing Day, let's go ahead and add a row, and I'm going to drag this up, and let's just say it's Susan's birthday today. It'd be easier to follow along. Susan's birthday is today, the current date, 21st of February, which it is, and she's not closed all day. And actually, I've just realized what we want to do at this stage is if she's closed all day, let's just remove that. If we find this date here and it's set to closed all day, we do actually want to stop looping through these items, okay? Because she's closed all day. So let's come back here and we can see that from the data that we're outputting here, it's a Boolean, so true or false. So this is false for the second and true for the first. Which if I go back here and just reload the page with no saved changes, true for the first, false for the second. So back in our code, right, we start looping through them. And then if the current items, this equals the local date, then inside here, we want to do another if statement like this. And we'll say if, and it's this same item that we have in the loop loaded up. If this, and we'll go back and it is this key here. So we'll do square brackets because it's an array and put that in there. If this equals true, we can then do echo, we are closed all day today. So let's save that. And back here, let's reload and let's go down. And you can see it says we are closed all day today, date found, date not found, which is we're closed all day because this is true. And then just overall, we're saying there was a date found and date not found. So what we want to do is if we find that today we are closed all day, we actually want to end the loop, not check any other dates because it doesn't matter because we're closed all day. So let's do break. And instead of going out and just echoing these here, I'm going to go ahead and just comment these out for now like that. And then down here, remember how at the start of today's video, we have our function and we're set to be open equals false. So the store is closed by default. And we're trying to see whether or not we're open, so inside business hours. And then we'll set it to true if that's the case. So down here, we've checked if we're closed all day, it's true. So we actually just want to end this completely. So what we can do is we could just here do return, and then we could write open like that. And again, open hasn't been changed, so open will equal false here. So we'll just be returning saying that we're closed today. And because we're returning this, so it loops through this is found and we return a value. When we return a value, nothing else happens after that, so we don't need that break anymore. So now if I go ahead and just uncomment this, we should just loop through once and we're going to say we're closed all day. And then we would have returned open, which is open equals false. So save, back here, reload, down, we are closed all day today. So coming back here, I'm going to add a comment there. So the below is handling when we are closed all day due to an exception day. So all closed is true. But now we need to handle a situation where we're only closed for half a day. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we find that there's an options value that equals today's date, but we're not closed all day, so it'll be else, like this, and I might just add a comment, we are not closed all day, but i.e. we are closed half day, etc. In here, what we actually need to do is we need to get from this entry, we need to get the opening time and the closing time of the entry that matches today's date against here. And if the current time falls within here, then we would set open to true. We're currently open. So to test that, let's go ahead and I'm just going to edit Grant's birthday here. And let's just quickly change this to Susan's birthday, which is today, not closed all day. So let's go ahead and add a time frame. So from 9 a.m. and maybe till, let's just say 1 p.m. like that. And then we'll add another row and I'll drag that up there. And this might be AM, because again, we can have multiple time frames here. And then here would be the PM. And we're going to do today's date, not closed all day. And maybe she reopens from 5 p.m. and shuts tonight at 10 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and update that. And then back here in our code, this is what we're going to do. So we'll do an if like that. And it'll be like if the... And then here, we need to get the current local time, which currently would be 14:31. So if we down here, so if the current local time is greater than, and we need to go here and I'll just reload this because we just added one behind the scenes. So here, so business hours open and business hours closed. So we want to check if the current time is greater than or equal to 9 a.m. but less than 1 p.m., which means that the current time is between here, so we should be open. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to copy this and come back here. I'm just going to put that there for now. So I'm going to get our item and then here, and then square brackets, and then I'll cut that and I'll put that in there. So if the local time is greater than or equal to the open time, and I'm just going to escape that down just so it's a bit easier to read here on my screen. And I'm just going to copy this. And at the end, I'm going to say and then down here, and the local time is less than, and we'll go back here and get the close time, less than the close time. Then down here, we could say echo, we are currently open during the current time frame for today. So just like that. So I'll go ahead and save that. And let's go back here and then reload. So nothing's happened because the local time is 2:34 in the afternoon. And if we go back here for today, we closed at 1 o'clock and then we opened back up at 5 o'clock. So we're outside of this here and there. And so that's why nothing's happened. So we could just write else here just to do that. So if we're not currently open, then we can just echo here. We are currently closed during the current time frame for today. So let's save that. And back here, let's reload the page. And it says we are currently closed during the current time frame. And then it said we are currently closed for the current time frame. And that's because if we have a look up here, it went through twice. So this one here has the 21st of Feb, which is today. And then it found a second item here. And the third one, the date here did not equal today, so it didn't output anything. So it found two items in the loop, and that's why it echoed our message twice. So coming back here, let's edit one of these, and then we'll go through the actual data that's happening in that comparison of greater than and equal to. So here, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Let's change this to 3 p.m. It's currently 2:35 p.m., so this should say we're open. So let's update this. And then back here, let's reload. It says that we are currently closed. So we just need to have a look at the data we're working with. Something's obviously wrong. If we go back and have a look at our local time, which we're outputting here in red. So if we go, it's 1437, which is correct. So let's go down and let's actually output these to see what the values of these are. So let's go pre-dump like that, and I'll output the business open time, and let's make this in a green, and then let's copy that and we'll put this down there and we'll do red. So green is the open, and then here will be close, and close is red. So let's save this and let's go back and reload. And if we go down, so we have 9 a.m. Okay, so I can instantly see what's happening here. We're trying to compare, if we go up, we're trying to compare 1438 with 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. So it's just not, they need to be in the exact same format. So what we need to do is we need to change the format that Advanced Custom Fields is returning this time in. So just like before, we'll come into here and we'll go edit, and we go down to the opening time and we'll edit, and we'll go down, and we want Susan to see this in her backend, but we want to get the data in a custom format. And coming back here, we have set here where we're setting our local time, we're setting the format to be HI. And just a quick refresh, this is down here. So we're adding these letters over here, which give us each of these things, and this is what it looks like. So the H, so if we come down, the H was a 24 hours, and the I was minute with leading zeros. So that's why we're getting 1439 currently, because we're combining these two, H and I. So back here, if we're getting our time here in PHP and doing this format, let's go back here and get that returning to us in that same format, and then we can compare. So we're also going to do this for the closing. So we'll go down and we'll go custom, and we'll put that in there, and we'll go save changes. So now if we go back here and we reload, we can see we have the first one here, 0900, the open time in green, and the close time at 1500. Which is this, opens at 9, closes at 3. The next one is going to be opens at 5 to 1700, closes at 2200. And then back here, opens at 1700, closes at 2200. So just 24-hour time. And now looking at our function, local time would be 1440. If the local time is greater than or equals to, and this would be like 1500, and it's also less than the close time, which might be like 1700. So they're really just comparing the numbers now. We're just trying to see if one is greater than the other. So I'll just undo that. But coming back here, you can see that firstly, it goes through and it says we are currently open during the current time frame. And then it loops through again, and then it says we are currently closed due to the current time frame. And that's because we fall within this one, but we don't fall within this one. But again, we're just trying to find one of these times that just lets our function know that we are currently open. So as soon as we find one that matches today and we fall within this time frame, we actually don't need to check this second one. So we can actually end the check, end the loop. So to do that, let's go back here. So if we check open and close against the current time, and we're currently within that, where we say we're currently open, down here we can just say return open equals true, and we can save. So to go through that first entry that we have for the time frame, it'll check here and say, we are actually open during here, end the function and just return to our function here is store open, return the value true, we are open. And the second one doesn't get checked. So we've handled that. Now, if we were to go back here and let's just say, for example, we change this. So we're open from 9 a.m. until 10 a.m. And then we open from something like 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I save that. Now our function's going to search this one here. And it's going to say, this is false. So it'll say we're not open. And then it will loop through to the next one. And it will say we are open. And then it will return true. And it won't bother looping through and checking this one. So if we go back and reload here now, it will say we are currently closed for that first item. And then it goes to the second one and it says we are currently open. So that wraps up going and handling the exception days. So coming back here, now that we've done everything to do with the exception days, the next thing that we need to do is the general business hours. Now, what I actually just did when I paused the video is I added in the days here. So Monday to Friday and then 9 until 5. But on Thursday, we have late night shopping. But I actually realized that if we're, for example, like our function is going to say, okay, so Saturday and Sunday, Susan hasn't added any days here, some opening hours. So we're going to assume that she's closed on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday. But then I was like, okay, well, we don't really need to check these dates up here either if it's a Saturday or a Sunday. So we actually need to wrap our entire function on an if statement, a check, to get the current day. And if it is a Saturday or Sunday, we actually just want to just return to say our store is closed today. We don't want to do anything. So we actually need to go and do that. So let's set that up. So when I paused the video, I went through and I just commented out all these pre-dumps that we've built up over today's video. So on the front end here, it's just really nice and simple so that we can, not get too cluttered here as we do this next bit of the function. So coming back here, let's start to do that. So here we're going to do check if our store is closed today because of the day of the week. Now, we need to go ahead and get the current day of Susan's business. So here where we're getting the local date and the local time, let's go ahead here and let's add a new line, and this will be local day of the week. And then here we need to go and get the format for the day. So back here in our PHP date time inside the format method, if we go down, we can see that day of the week, mun through sun. So that's what it's going to output. So we want to get this to the D. So copy that back here for the format, write D, and that's going to give us mun, chu, wed. So the first 3 letters of the day of the week. So here we can add a new line here just to dump that on the front end. So I'll copy that, paste it there, and let's do that as a black. So if we save this, go back and reload, you can see there it is, the current day is Tuesday. So now that we've got the current day of Susan's business, which today is Tuesday, we need to check whether or not this current day is a day that we are actually open. So let's go ahead and do that. So down here, we want to do if, and then here we'll check if the local day of the week is in this list here. So let's go ahead and get this list here. So the name of that field is this here. So I'll copy that, go back here, and let's first create that variable. I'll just get rid of that. So here we'll go ACF underscore general business hours repeater. And I might just get rid of that. So here, the general business hour repeater equals get underscore field, like that. And then the name of the field, comma, and then option, because it's in the options table, in the options page. And then let's go ahead and pre-dump that. So I'll copy that, we'll paste that there, and let's do that as a blue, and copy and paste. So let's save, back here and reload. Okay, so now we're accessing those days of the week. So we know that the current day for Susan is Tuesday, TUE, and we get the first 3 letters of the day of the week. But if we have a look at the data that ACF is giving us, it's giving us the full name of the day of the week. So let's go ahead and convert these to the first 3 letters of the day of the week. So to do that, we can come back in here to our field group and go edit, and we can go down to day of the week and edit. And if we go down, we can see you can set the value and then the label. It says there, you may specify a value on a label. So the value is what we want to do, because if we go down, the return format that Advanced Custom Fields returns for us, when we write get underscore field to access it, it's going to return the value. So the value is on the left. So let's go mun, colon, like that. And I'm just going to do that for all the days of the week. So I'm going to pull that down. So Tuesday, like that. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday, like that. So let's go ahead and save changes. And with that saved, if we go back to the front end and reload, see how these are still the full day of the week? And I actually just had to pause the video to work out what was going on, and I'll show you what's happened. Because back here in this field, if we go down to day of the week, because we played around with these values, when we go back here to our options page where they were previously set, if I reload this page now, you can see it's cleared them. So the data there is actually saved in the database, but it's just not being accessed in the way that we want. So let's go ahead and resave this, and then it will save in the format that we want into the database. So let's go here and go Monday, and and then here Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday, and then Friday. And we'll go up and go update. So now it's saved the values that we added, those first 3 letters, into the database. And now back here, if we reload, these should go to the first 3 letters, because that's what we're returning. So Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, and so on. So now we can compare inside our function the current day of the week for Susan to that item in a loop. So here, now we'll go to loop through them. So for each, and then we'll get that as, and then we'll paste, and we're going to say underscore item, or we might actually just say day of week. So it's going to get the list of all of these, which is all of these, and it's going to load up one of these, and that's going to be in this variable here. And then we want to do, when we've loaded up that first item, we then want to check the value inside here in this key. So because it's an array, we do that, like that. And again, we know it's an array because it tells us it's an array here with 3, I guess you would call them attributes, maybe. Maybe you'd call them 3 key value pairs. I'm not quite sure. 3 items in the array. Not really sure on that one, but coming back here, we're going to access the value that's in this key of that array. And I'm just going to set this as a variable. So here I'll say day of week equals, and I might say ACF day of week. So now we've saved it in a variable, and then we can go down and do a check on that variable. So if that variable from the ACF that's loaded up in the loop equals, and then we want to get the local day of the week, we can do something for testing here, like echo today has been found the day, and then we could do the day of the week. Let's go save. And back here, let's reload. Today has been found. The day is Tuesday. So now that is matching because today is Tuesday, and it would have looped through Monday. It wouldn't have been found, and then Tuesday would have been found. We can also go through here, and we could say else, and then say echo, and then say echo day not found, like that. So let's save that and reload, and we'll go down. So day not found, which was Monday, and then it went to the next item, and it looped, and it said today is found because the second item was Tuesday, which is the current day. So we're obviously not going to be echoing this. That was just to show you sort of what's happening there. So let's comment that out. And what we really want to do is, as we're looping through the days here, if the current day of Susan's business isn't found in the list here, inside of here, it means that she's not open, because if she was open, it would be found because she would have added a time that she's normally open. So what we could do here is just say current day found equals false. And then we load up the list of the days in our options page, and then we check that list against the current day. And if it's found, then we could set current day found equals true. And then at the end, we could do a check. If current day found does not equal true, and then we would just write return open. And again, remember, open up the top here is false by default. So it goes through all the different days in our list and checks it against the current day. So let's just say today was Saturday. If the local day was Saturday, go through our list. Saturday is not found here. So this is never set to true. And we could actually just check if it still equals false. So we could just say if current day equals false, return open. Because if it was found, it would have been set to true. And so this wouldn't be true, and then it would just keep going down here. Another way that we could do it, I'm not quite sure what the best way is, and I'm just curious, is as follows. So if you know the answer to this, definitely let me know in the comments below. I think what we could also do, if I comment that out, and here I add a thing here, so function option 1, checking with Boolean, which by Boolean I just mean we're just checking if current day found is true or false. What we could also do down here, that might be another option, is to loop through all the different days here. So I'll just copy this and paste that there and go down like that. So for each of the items as this, and let's just give this a name. So this would be like option 2 using array check within array function, which we'll look at in just a second. That's a PHP function. But down here, let's create a new variable, and this would be ACF days of week array, and that will equal an array. So we're just making this variable into an array. And then for each of our items as this, we're going to get this array, and it's going to equal, actually, I think we want to do this. So into that array, it's going to add, so equals this, and then the day of the week there. So like that and like that. So we're creating a blank variable and saying it's going to be an array, and then we're going to loop through all these different items here for the days of the week, the general business hours, and we're going to get this key, we're going to get this value, and we're going to add it into this array. So now at the end of looping through them, if we try to pre-dump this array like that, and let's make it green, and I'll save. If we go back and reload and go down, you can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then back here, we can just check to see if the current day is in this array. So here we could go if, like that, and then we want to do in array, and I'm just going to copy this, and let's go back to our PHP docs and search for in array. There it is. And here we can see that we have a parameter needle, which can be a mixed data type. And then the second one is an array that you're checking in. So needle and haystack. And then the third one is a Boolean strict, and it's set to default false. So that is optional. So what we really need to do to work from this is we need to get the value that we have. So the current day of Susan's business, which could be, say, today's Tuesday. And then we get the list of the days from advanced custom fields, and we check if Tuesday is in this array. So needle in the haystack. The haystack's the array we're checking in. So let's go back here. So in array, and then inside here, we're going to get, if we go up, we want to get the local day of the week of Susan. So the current day. So if that is found in our array that we just created, and then down here, we could write echo, and then we'll just write today is a normal trading day for this business, like that. So let's save this and go back here and reload. Today is a normal trading day for this business because the current day is Tuesday, and Tuesday is found in this array of this list, and so it's a normal trading day. If we went back here and changed Tuesday to be, say, any other day, really, Saturday, so now the current day is Tuesday, but Tuesday is not found in this list. So if we save this, actually I just need to get rid of this dummy one at the end. Okay, so let's go up and save this. And if we go back here and say else and just add echo, today we are normally closed, and go save. If we go and reload the page, it says today we are normally closed. Because again, today is Tuesday. Tuesday is not in the list here inside this array. So I'm going to go back and just revert that to Tuesday, and I'm going to save. And then back here, I'm just going to comment that out because we obviously just don't want to do that. So now if the current day is found to have opening hours, we want to continue this function. So else, if it's not, we want to return open, and open is closed, so false. So if today was a Tuesday, that would be in the list, and then it would just continue to checking the exception days. If today was a Saturday, Saturday would not be in this list, so it would go else, and then it would return open equals false. So open equals false by default returned. Okay, so we've just handled that there. So I'll just save that. So with that done, option 2, I'm going to leave enabled here, but if you want to get the code from today, it will be in the blog post linked in the description below, and I will also leave option 1 here where we did the Boolean check. But yeah, option 2 with the array check, I'll leave that active. So now that we've done that, we're ready to do the last little bit. So if we are found to have been open on today by checking here, so we're open on this day, and there's no exceptions found for these specific dates, which is what we coded so far, then we just need to get the current day for Susan and then check the current time and see if it falls within here. And if it does, we are open. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we go up the top here, down here, we got from Susan's website, so using the general setting, the timestamp there of Sydney, Australia time zone, we've got the local day of the week here saved in this variable. So currently it's a Tuesday, so this is saved for Susan based on her website setting Sydney, Australia. This is currently Tuesday, as we know. And then down here, if we go down to there, we checked if Tuesday was in this list here, which it was. And so that's why our function is going to continue. And based on that, we actually already know what day is here. We don't need to loop through these again and then check it against Susan's current time because we've already done that up the top here. So down the bottom here, let's add a comment. So handle if our store is open today, but there are no exceptions. Check if current time is within default trading hours for this day of the week, which again is currently Tuesday. So because we already know the day of the week is Tuesday, all we need is the opening and closing times of that. So let's quickly go up and just find, if we go up and up and up, this is the general business hours repeater. So if I just cut that from there, because we don't really need it up there anymore, and I go down here and we're working with this, if I paste this, so general business hours repeater, that's this field here, as we know. So that's in the blue. So again, if I just quickly save that and we go back and reload here, so it didn't output for some reason, should be blue. I'm just gonna go ahead and comment out some things that we don't need anymore. And let's just make sure it's reaching this part of the function. So let's do hello. And that's not being output. So our function isn't getting to there. So it means we're returning a result before we get here. So it's looping through and then it's saying we are currently open during the time frame and it's returning open there. So if we comment that out and go back and reload, now we see the blue and we should see hello somewhere there at the end. So that's what's happening because we're in the current time frame. So remember, as soon as our function sees that we're open during a time frame that we're checking, it just needs to exit the function. There's no point checking anything else. And this one here is an exception. So if we go back here, so it's the 21st of February and it's 5:21 p.m. So this is being checked as true and it's not even getting to down here. So for now, let's just go ahead and change this. So maybe we closed at like 3 p.m. and update. So this would be outside now. So we have a current day matching, which is Tuesday down here, but there's no exceptions. So we should get down to here. So coming back down to here, let's just make sure we still have access to that. Okay, that's all good. So coming down, we want to access Tuesday. Let's do that. So for each like that, and it will be general business hours repeater option. That's actually, sorry, I was just troubleshooting before. That is just the same as this. ACF general business hours repeater equals the field. So I'll just copy that and we'll go down here and we will put that there. So we're loading up that field for each of these as repeater item. And then here, if, and then if that, and because it's an array, the key we want to access is this. So if that equals the current day of the week, so up here, so local day of the week for Susan, down here. Where is it? Where is it? There. So there. Then we just want to save the opening and closing times to variables. So open time equals, and then here we want to get our item, and then inside there, we want to access the opening time key, and we'll paste that in there. And then at the end, we'll just put a semicolon, and then let's just copy that and we'll paste it underneath and we'll do closing time, and we'll go back and get this closing time and we'll paste that there. And then in here, we'll do if like that, and we'll go up and get the current time for Susan. So if we go up, it was here, local time. So we'll go down, down, down to here. So if the local time is greater than the opening time for this day, and the local time for Susan is less than, actually we don't want to do greater than or equal to opening time, and less than the closing time we are open on this day. And then we would return open equals true. And I might actually just echo we are open on this day the day is currently, and then we'll output the day of the week, which would be the repeater item day of the week, which would be that. So let's go ahead and save that. And then back here, let's reload and we'll go down. And I can see now is that the opening and closing times, they're returning the wrong format from our custom fields. Because remember, if we go up here, our local time is in 24-hour time, 1/3 for 1 p.m. and 20. So if we go down, we actually just need to convert that to that same format because it's outputting 9 a.m. So let's go back in here and we're going to edit our general business hours, go down to our opening time, and then we'll go down and the return format will be custom. And coming back here, actually, let's just go up. We want to copy the format, which is HI for the hours and minutes with leading zeros. So let's come back here and paste that for that. And then the closing time will do the same. So we'll go down to here. So custom, do that, save changes. Now, if we go back here and reload the page and we go down a little bit, 0900, 1700. So now this is in the correct format for us to compare the current time to. But having a look here, I can't see our message. And I actually just realized that for Tuesday, we're saying we're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and it's currently 5:30. So if we go down to our function, return open is true, else echo, we are currently closed. The day is currently, and then we'll output our name of the day of the week there at the end, and we'll save, go back and reload. And then down the bottom, we are currently closed. The day is Tuesday. Now, if we come back here and for Tuesday, we said we actually close at 6 p.m. So we should be open now. Let's update. If I go back here and reload the page, it says we are open on this day. The day is currently Tuesday. So with that all done, let's go ahead and just clean up this code by commenting out all the echo statements and all the pre-dumps that we used for diagnosing our problems and issues today. And then we'll get into the next section. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and do that. And also, if you are using WP Codebox, what you can do is press Command and then the /, and that will comment out the entire line or whatever's selected. So if you want to comment out of all this, you just do that, hold the Command key, /, does that, and then you can do the same to uncomment like that. So that's how I'm quickly doing this. So I'm going to comment out all of these here, all the echoes. So that one there, that one there, that one there, and then we'll go up. Think that might be, and then these, so we can highlight all of them, comment them out, and I think we'll just do a last test here. But I think we should be pretty good to go on to the next section. Okay, cool. So let's just save this, come back here and do that. So now we're ready to jump in and put all of this into action. We're going to go into Bricks Builder and we're going to show and hide elements inside of Bricks Builder based on our function that we spent, basically, I'm going to assume the last 2 hours writing. So let's jump into it. And you can see that if I go here, edit with bricks and then edit header. So I'm editing the header template. You can see that I have a section here. If I just collapse these, this section here is for when we're open, and this section here is for when we're closed. Now, to show and hide these elements on our page based on our function, we need to use the condition builder in Bricks Builder. So I'm going to click on this one here, and I'm going to click up here under conditions, and we're going to add a condition. And then here, we're going to go all the way to the bottom to dynamic data. So if I click on that, then here we can put into curly braces, we can write echo, colon, and then we just put the name of our function. So coming back in here, if I go all the way to the top, our function is called isStoreOpen. So I just copy that. And then back here, I paste that. And I'll show you what this does in just a second. But here we're going to go, here we're going to do equals, and we're going to write true. So what this does is, as Bricks Builder goes and tries to render this element on the page, this section, it goes to our function, and whatever our function returns, the value, which is open, as we know, we're returning open is either true or false. Let's just say our store was deemed to be open, then open would equal true, and so our function actually returns the value true. And then if true equals true, which it does, then this outputs on the page. We can then also go to this one down here and we can go add, and then we can go all the way down to the bottom, dynamic data, and then we'll paste echo our function. So our function, we're going to check our function, get its return value. And if the returned value equals false, i.e. our store is not open, then we'll output this one here. So let's go ahead and save that. And I just refreshed this on the front end, and you can see the green says that we're currently open, and the other section that says we're currently closed with the red is an output on the page. So now let's go ahead and jump back into here, and let's play around with this and just make sure it's actually working and it's outputting on the front end with Bricks Builder the section that we want it to do, just to make sure everything's working. So here, why is it currently open? So the date currently is the 21st of February, so we're checking these. The current date is found here. The current time is 5:46 p.m., so Susan's time. The time for Susan is 5:46 p.m., so it's not going to fall inside here, and it's actually not going to fall inside there either. So it must be because it's coming down here to Tuesday. So if I change this to be shut at 5 p.m. and we click update, now if I come back and reload, it says we're closed. So we've actually, from testing, we've found an error. If there is a date found here, and the current time for Susan's store is not found in any time frames for the date that's found, we don't want to come down here. We actually just want to say the store is currently closed. So we need to stop it from going down here. So let's go back here and just set that back to, let's just say 7 p.m. and update. So really, because we found dates here, our store should be closed, but because it's currently 5:40 p.m. and it's checking here, it's actually saying we're open. So if we come back here, it's saying open. Let's go ahead and fix our function so that this returns the correct false, so it's closed. So back in our function, we need to go down to where the exception days is handled, which is here. And I can see once we're going through those records for the exception days, once a date for one of those records matches the current date, we then check if they're closed all day. And if they are, we return open. Else, we check the open and closing times against the current time. And if it's within there, we return open. So we don't want to hook into the else here and say if it's outside the time frame, we're closed, because obviously we need to go and check those other time frames for the current date. But what we can do is go up the top here, and when we're looping through, if there is a record whose date matches the current date, we can go into here and we could set a variable. So exception day found, and we could set this to true. And we also obviously need to create that variable before the for each. So exception day found equals false. So if a date for the record of the exception day equals a local date, an exception day is true. So this first record would return false, and then it loops through again. But as it loops through again, it's going to set this to true again. So we don't really need to do that. So we could say if like that, and then if this does not equal true, then we can set it to true. So the first time it'll go through exception day equals false. The first time it's not set to true, so it sets it to true. And then it loops through the first time frame, which says that we're currently closed today. Then it goes to the second time frame for today. And then it says, is exception day not equal to true? It is actually true, so it just skips doing that. And then it goes down here. So now what we can do is, after we've looped through all of these, remember it's going to return open equals true and just leave this function as soon as it finds that the current time is within a time frame for an exception. But after doing all of that down here, we can do if, like that, if from that loop an exception day was found at all, and then we could just return open equals false. And then here I'll just add a comment, and I'll just add a comment here. So there were exception days that matched the current date, but the current time did not match one of the time frames. Thus we have closed today. So return opens equals false. And then it doesn't need to go and check our normal business hours, which is what the problem that we're having before. So if we save this and we go back to the front end now and reload this, that correctly changes to we're closed. So now let's go ahead and start playing around with these. So we're currently closed. Going through this again, we found this date here, 9 to 10 a.m. It's currently nearly 6 p.m. Okay, so we're closed as per this. We go to the next one. The date was found, 1 to 3 p.m., we're closed. Because we found the dates here and the current time did not fall within these timeframes here, we just return that our store is closed. If I change this to something like 7 p.m. and click update, now our function will search here, find this date, check the current time of 6 p.m. to here, false, it doesn't match, check down here, check this date, 1 to 7 p.m. It's currently 6 p.m. Yes, our store should be open. So back here, if we reload, we're open. Now let's just say we change these dates here. So let's just say we move these to the 24th and 24th and click update. And we went down, and also for Tuesday, which is the current day today, let's just say we closed on a Tuesday at 4 p.m. and we'll save that. So now for Susan, the current time is the 21st of February at 6 p.m. There's no 21st of February is here. So it's a Tuesday. It comes down here. Tuesday, it's normally open from 9 till 4 p.m. It's currently 6 p.m. It should be closed. Coming back here, if we reload, we're closed. If we updated Tuesday to be open until 8 p.m. and clicked update and came back here and reload, now we're open. And that wraps up the first PHP challenge. So much of a challenge for me, but I just want to get your feedback. Like, what do you guys think of just doing more of these? I just want to know like who my audience is. Like, do you guys really know PHP and you just want to know how to use WordPress a bit more? Or do you actually want to better your PHP skills and in general just up those skills? I just want to have some direction on what you guys want to see, because I would love to put more of these videos out. I'm really trying to learn a lot about PHP, and I really just want to connect with people that are maybe in the same boat as me through 2023. What I'm going to do now is I'm definitely going to go and put all the code from today in the blog post that is linked in the description below. And also let me know in the comments below one thing that you learned in today's video that made watching today's video worth it for you. I just like to get an idea of the things that people are finding valuable in videos like these that are long. Did you like that I was trying to problem solve on the fly? I don't know, just let me know anything, any feedback on today's video. What I'm going to do now is put some videos on the screen here that YouTube thinks that you should watch next. I'll see you in those videos.